afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you're tuning in from. My name is Julie Cohen. I am CEO of Work Life Leader. We are a leadership development, executive coaching, and training organization. And you are here for Work Life Leader Live. So thank you for joining us. For those of you who are new watching, Work Life Leader Live is a project of mine that is actually one of the most favorite things I do, and it's where I have interesting conversations with really smart people about the intersection of work, life, and leadership. Our topics have been extremely varied, and they're made even more interesting by you, our viewers, participating. So besides Work Life Leader Live, we also have the Work Life Leader Live book group, which is also coming up, which I'll tell you about later. But we really use this platform to engage, connect, and share information. So with no further ado, I want to get to our awesome topic and my guest, Bobbi Block. Hi, Bob.
Hey, Jewel.
Thanks.
Great to be here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So before we get started, as I said, it is Tuesday, May 18th, and it is a little after 4:30 Eastern in the US. So if you can translate your time zones, if you are watching live, please say hello in the comment section of whatever platform you're watching on, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. Use hashtag live so we know you're here. Tell us where you're listening from. We'd love to know where you are, so we can make sure we include you in this conversation. So with that, with no further ado, we're going to dive into our topic today, which is entitled, Are You Listening? Applied Improv for Leadership Presence. And I'm going to introduce our wonderful guest, and who I have to acknowledge is a good long-term friend also. So I'm going to read your wonderful bio so I don't miss anything. But Bobbi Block is an experiential facilitator and coach with a unique background in learning and development and the performing arts. She specializes in relationship management, executive presence, collaboration, leadership, presentation, and creativity. Bobbi works as a consultant for many organizations, actually too many to mention, including the Wharton School's Executive Education Institution. In addition, Bobbi has been the director of Applied Improvisation for CSZ Philadelphia. And for those locals in Philadelphia, you know it as Comedy Sports Philly. And she's been in that role for over 20 years. Bobbi also teaches and performs improvisational theater in Philadelphia, and is an adjunct professor in the theater department at Drexel University and Temple University, where she also teaches leadership skills for the engineering school's graduate capstone course. And last but not least, Bobbi is also a subject matter expert for Work Life Leader, where she is a highly regarded presenter on a variety of topics, including executive presence and collaboration and adapting your style. So welcome again, Bob.
Thanks for that intro, Jewel. It's so good to be here with you.
All right. Well, let me just say hello to a couple guests who are here. Bill Hyman, one of our longest and most faithful guests and viewers. So hi, Bill. Thanks for being here. And Ben Lippitz from Poconos. He says, happy to be here, and hi, Bobbi. So again, if you're watching live, we'd love to hear from you, because we're definitely going to, as appropriate, Applied Improv. This is going to, all of our conversations in Work Life Leader Live have been what I believe is very improvisational, and they're made best by engaging with everyone. So we have a tradition around here at Work Life Leader Live to start our conversations before we get into the meat of the topic with an icebreaker related to the topic. So I'm going to ask Bobbi a question, and then I'm going to come to everyone in the audience, and we'll want your answers, and then I'll share my answers. So Bobbi, can you talk about a time when you weren't listened to, like someone wasn't listening to you, and how it felt?
Sure. Oh, I'm hearing feedback. That's interesting.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'll ignore that.
We'll roll with it.
So we'll roll with it. So, yes, it's not a particular memory. It's a general memory of a glazed look in the eyes and knowing that somebody is formulating what they want to say while I'm speaking. So it's the that kind of response while I'm talking that makes me feel like you're not hearing a word I'm saying. And it's the look and it's the that gets me. And that happens more often than I'd like.
Yeah, I understand that, which will be related to when I share. But before I share mine, if you're watching live, again, welcome everyone to Work Life Leader Live. People often just come in the first couple minutes as they get notices from various social platforms. But if you are watching live or not, we'd love to hear your thoughts on the icebreaker. When has there been a time when you know you weren't being listened to in conversation or in a situation, and what did it feel like? It's funny, similarly, Bobbi, as a mother of an 18-year-old son, I have to say many times, regularly, when I talk to him and there's a lot of competing pulls on his attention, including, TV and phone and, just daydreaming. I often say things and I say, are you listening to me? And, I realize how much frustration that causes for both of us. Me not thinking he's listening, and for him, me thinking he's not listening, and he thinks he's listening, but I don't feel like he's listening. So it's this very it's this very stressful situation, and it usually escalates often into a fight.
Yeah, and actually, that reminds me of an exercise that I do where I actually ask people to practice not listening, to try not to listen.
Right.
And then after the end of the exercise, I don't check in with them because we're all good at not listening. The person who I check in with is the person who was giving the information. And I say, what happened to that information? Did you say exactly what it was you wanted to say? And what happens is when you feel like the other person isn't listening, you start speeding up, editing out, cutting short, jumping over things just to get through, because you're like, oh, they're not listening. I've got to either get their attention or, they're obviously in a rush, so I better rush what I have to say. And then the interaction is so incomplete because the other person was making you feel not heard. And so therefore you stopped giving them the information that you intended to give in the first place.
Yeah. Well, again, from a parenting standpoint, that happens all that happens because I sometimes then will escalate, start screaming, getting angry. Right. And then it's like, why did I have this conversation anyway? What happened? All right. So we've got some audience comments. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on some of these, Bob. So first of all, hello, Valerie Gart. She says, had most recently on Zoom, in a Zoom meeting, someone is looking away from the camera, usually at another monitor, where it really seems like they are doing something else. So, yeah.
And that will definitely give the person who's speaking that sense of, I'm not being heard. I better get their attention. Now I'm thinking, how am I going to get their attention? Now I have to do something differently to get their attention. And so the whole interaction is destroyed. Even if the person who's looking on the other screen could say, I can do two things at once. I could look at that other screen and I can hear every word you're saying. But that's not really the point. The point is the feeling that the other person is getting is making them rush through and change the information they intended to give you.
Yeah. So we got a bunch of, let's get a couple more examples and then I'm going to we'll keep coming back and forth. So Janelle Field, hello. Thanks for your comment. She said, it just happened this morning in a meeting. Everything I said, one person responded very quickly with, but it's demotivating. And I think we're probably going to talk about that in a little bit, right?
Oh, the word, but I'm sorry, I didn't know you were done with the comment.
Yeah. Oh
my goodness. Yes, we're going to talk about that a little bit later. The idea of saying yes, but completely dismisses and distances you from the person who you want to connect with so badly. So we want to get rid of the yes, buts for sure.
Yeah. And then Ben shared, I do a lot of organizational fundraising for a Broadway show. When I'm speaking to fellow cast members, I can see them tune out and listen so they can avoid the ask they know is coming to join in our volunteer effort.
Yeah, that is also, again, one of those body language glazed over eyes things that you really want to, again, make the other person feel that you are with them, that you are hearing them. And so we have to pay attention to our own body language, our own mental focus. And, this is somebody who's specifically choosing not to listen.
Right.
And that just feels like you don't ever want to communicate with them again.
Right. Yeah. So it can damage. I mean, and I see this, it's kind of like trust.
Exactly.
The analogy is, it takes years to build trust, but, if you can lose it in a second and then it's very hard to regain. And right. I think if you have a conversation with someone and you can feel they're not listening to you, that can damage that relationship.
Right. And the opposite is true. So this whole idea of, are you listening for leaders? What I feel is that listening is the crucial behavior to create a relationship, because if you make the other person feel heard, that is a trust builder.
Right.
When somebody walks away from you and says, that person made me feel like I was the only one in the room, there was absolutely nothing else going on, no other distractions, and they heard me, that means I'm going to trust them. And if you build trust with somebody, then you actually can influence as a leader. Right. You're not going to be able to influence until you listen first. So many leaders want to influence first. I'm going to come up with a great argument. I'm going to have a great agenda. I'm going to compel them. But it's really the opposite. It's listen first, and then later you'll have their trust, and then you can compel them.
Yes. All right. So, and finally, Victor. Hello, Victor. A building relationship workshop for consultants. I had to give directions for a breakout 3 times because 2 members of the group were not listening. So again, very frustrating. So I want to now, so thank you everyone for sharing. We're going to keep coming back to your questions, to your comments. They're really important. I know we have people of all different backgrounds. I see there's some HR professionals. I know there's some communications consultants and coaches here, and other great viewers. Just as a quick reminder, this is Work Life Leader Live, and my guest today is Bobbi Block, who is an experiential facilitator and an applied, and basically, as you were called once in, I think it was the Philadelphia City paper, the Queen of Improv in Philadelphia, if I recall correctly.
Yes, I was once called the Queen of Improv. You are right. That is an old reference, but I'll take it.
There you go.
Good to be the queen.
Exactly. So, and our topic today is, are you listening? Applied Improv for Leadership Presence. So I want to just actually now kind of get to the meat of this question. And you kind of have implied some of that in this initial part, is why are we actually talking about this topic?
Yes, I did jump the gun and go right into that.
No, but
I do feel that listening is the number one skill that leaders need to acquire in order to inspire and engage followership. And so many clients that I work with feel that it's the leadership presence, which I also work on, how you're delivering messages. They feel that's the key. Or if I just say the right words in the right order and I get them in the office and I have my agenda and I say everything correctly, I got this. And they're really not paying attention to the other side of the conversation, which is the listening side. Yeah. I feel that not only is listening a trust builder, so of course it benefits the other person to feel trust, that builds trust with you. But if you listen, you uncover unexpected information, things that you might not have thought of before you go into that conversation. That's a huge benefit, these unexpected outcomes. And I think that's what gets in the way of a lot of leaders, that They don't want to deal with unexpected. They don't want to deal with uncovering. They want to think 3 steps ahead. They want to anticipate problems, nip them in the bud, and move on. Like, that's what I'm getting paid for, to be the wise advisor, the one who thinks ahead and anticipates and knows the big picture. And in doing so, they sometimes are missing uncovering information that could really lead to better relationships, newer discoveries, a new solution to the problem that they're working on, just if they listen.
Right. And we're going to get into some hows, like how to address that. But let's
my favorite. The how is my favorite.
I know, but I'm holding you back a little. We got to build up, Bobbi. We got to get some drama here, right? So let's see, like what gets in the way of good listening. I think some of our people in the audience shared some things that get in the way of good listening. From someone not looking at the camera, that gets in the way of good listening. So let's start there. And if you're watching, feel free to share things that you think get in the way of good listening. But why don't you take it away, Bob?
Well, what I feel gets in the way of good listening is not necessarily that we are pulled in many directions by screens and devices, and the fact that we're multitasking or switch tasking all day long. That certainly gets in the way of listening. The other thing that gets in the way of listening is something that's happening internally, which I feel is fear. Fear of looking foolish, of saying something incorrect, of not saying the right thing, of not giving the answer that I'm getting paid to give, giving direction to my direct report because that's what I'm supposed to do. So there's a lot of fear involved, so that we have these internal scripts and internal agendas that we're holding on to. And we're just waiting for an opportunity to say that perfect thing and that right thing, because there's a lot of fear that if I don't have that keyed up in my head to say it, I won't know what to say. And I think getting people over that fear of not having the perfect response in the moment, getting over that fear is one of the ways that improvisation can help. But also just acknowledging, that is why I'm coming up with all this internal distraction while you're talking to me. That's what's going on.
Great. So it's interesting. We have another viewer shared this, and I think this viewer. Hi, Eric Brunner.
Hi, Eric.
And he shared sometimes I'm the culprit. So I'm definitely curious about what that looks like for you, Eric. If you want to share details or what's going on, we'd like to learn more. And Bobbi may be able to comment on that. Another comment from Victor. Gets in the way. Our need to be seen and heard trumps our desire to make others seen and heard.
Yes, absolutely.
So can you talk more to that, Bob? What that looks like and shows up or means?
Sure. I mean, I will talk about myself as well. The idea of being right or having the right solution, I love that. Who doesn't love having the best solution to the people's problems? So it often comes from a place of good intention. Right? I want to help you. But as the other person is talking, if your internal dialogue is, yeah, shut up so I can help you, then you're getting in the way of yourself. You're saying, I need to be seen and heard for good intention because I want to help. But instead you are shutting down the other person. So does that speak to it? Is that what you're looking at?
I think it totally speaks to that. Yeah. So let's talk about applied improv. How does that support good leadership? And that's a very broad question. So
that's okay. Well, a lot of what I'm talking about here is a little bit of wanting to have control as a leader, right? I called you into my office. I am controlling this agenda. I am having a team meeting. I'm in control of it. And the internal sort of static that's going on in your head that's keeping you from really listening to what's happening in the moment is this need to be in control. And again, I can be a culprit, just like Eric said, many of us can be the culprit. I call myself a recovering control freak. I know, Julie, you've dabbled in that area as well.
I don't think I'm recovering, Bob.
But we all want things to go well. That's fine. That's great. When is the time to give a little of that up and allow yourself to be in the moment and find out what's happening right here, right now in the moment, and use that to make your decisions? And having both of those skills, being able to think ahead and control, and also being able to be in the moment, that's where applied improvisation comes in. So applied improvisation means that improvisers who perform on stage, for those of you who don't know what improvisers do, they perform unscripted theater. And I am one of those people. So applied improv means that improvisers go on stage, they have no idea what's going to happen. They have no control. And they need to make decisions in the moment and work very collaboratively, be present, and listen carefully to each other. And so applied means we take those skills that improvisers use on stage and we apply them to situations off stage where you want to have better communication. So we're not teaching people how to be improv comedians or anything of the sort. I'm taking the skills like being present, listening, letting go of that internal script, supporting your partner's ideas, building off of their ideas instead of just shoving in your own ideas. We're taking all those skills and we're applying them to business situations.
Awesome. So, do you have anything up your sleeve for us?
I do. Wow, what a segue.
I know. I don't mince words. Come on, let's.
All right.
So, let me preface this. So, this is Work Life Leader Live, and our wonderful guest is Bobbi Block, experiential facilitator. And applied improv guru. And our topic today is, are you listening? Applied improv for leadership presence. And I was not going to say but I said and because you're here. And Bobbi can answer questions on any of the topics, anything we've talked about. So we already have a couple questions in the queue, but I wanted to get to some exercises that some might just be between me and Bobbi that then you can comment on. And Bobbi has some that you can do at home. We don't have a script on this.
I'm all about experiential learning, right? So I could talk to the cows come home about being present and listening and all that. It's really about behavior changes. And the only way you're going to get comfortable being in the moment is if you throw yourself in the moment and let go of that life raft of holding on to your script. So that's the way I like to work. So I'm going to ask you, Julie, to do a little something with me. I'd love for us to have a little conversation about leaders and listening. However, as we converse back and forth, I would like you to use the last letter that I say in my sentence as the first letter of your next sentence. And then I will use the last letter of your sentence as the first letter of my next sentence. Okay. And let's do a couple of sentences back and forth.
All right. And I'll just preface this. This is not.
This is improv, people.
This is improv, baby.
And in fact, we could get a suggestion from the chat what we should talk about. We don't need to talk about leaders and listening.
Okay, if someone wants us to talk about something else, now's your time.
Just to prove that it's improvised.
Yes, if you don't, because we're both talk about leadership. If you want to put in something you want us to talk about instead,
talk about the weather if you'd like, whatever.
Let's see if we get a comment. But I'll just preface, to kind of before we start this, if we get a comment, I'm waiting to see if someone gives us a topic. But when you shared that, and I've been in tens of your workshop. There's a little anxiety. Well, it's more than just more.
Oh well,
tens, but not 100. So maybe 50. Right. Okay. We got one. Bobbi, tell me if you're okay with this one though. It's from Julia Taus, Raising Teenagers.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So you were about to say.
I was going to say, some people know me here and you know me. I'm very comfortable in front of the room. I'm energized. And I always have a plan. Like I know what I'm presenting and I am the queen of logistics and, delivering what I say. And so, even when you just said that, and this whole conversation is always fairly improvised. We have a couple talking points, but my shoulders went up a little. So, but I'm ready.
That. And also you took a little, like a chest breath, right?
Yeah.
So everybody at home, let's all take a deep breath for Julie so we can all relax. Let me take a deep breath.
A belly breath, right, Bob?
Exactly. A belly breath inhibits adrenaline, and the chest breath sends adrenaline out. So we don't need adrenaline right now.
All right. So
you can start, and I'll be on the hot seat first. So say something about raising teenagers. And remember, everybody, it's called last letter, first letter. So Julie's last letter is my first letter.
I had an epiphany recently that raising my teenager is finally getting some rewards.
So much of what we talk about, Jewel, is the frustration of raising kids or raising a teenage boy, that I'm delighted to hear that you had an epiphany.
Yes. It was eye-opening in that it's, especially this past year with the pandemic, having an 18-year-old in the house and a lot of difficulty, that as he becomes a young man and I'm seeing the person he's becoming, there's a new relationship developing, and I'm really excited about it.
To tell you the truth, I am excited for you because I've seen you be really happy and pleased with your relationship lately. All right, that's enough. We're good. All right, so Jewel and everybody in the audience, what did that do as you were listening to me?
I had to listen to every word you said because I didn't know when you were ending.
Yep.
I definitely was, I was, because I've done a lot of your workshops, I was ready to catch whatever you were giving me. Like I was like this. And it was interesting when you finished, then I started thinking. Like I had to think then.
Beautiful. So that's exactly what we're looking for. You had to think after I was finished. Right. What an amazing thing that we would wait until the other person was finished to consider what we might say in response.
Right. And with that, and again, and I it's funny, there's some interesting questions that are going to come up for this. Someone like me and my personality style, I wanted to have the next sentence ready. Rick Gardner noticed the pause before responding. Yeah. And, like that pause is fine, but in some ways in my head, it felt like, 3 minutes, but I know it was a pause. It wasn't even a full breath because it wasn't hard. The letters weren't hard. Like you didn't end in an X, and so I was going to think, how am I going to get X-ray or xylophone in the conversation? But,
well, this is I'm sorry, go on.
No, go.
This is just one of a million exercises to start training the brain to slow down. Exactly what you said, or what Rick Gardner said, that there's a pause. You don't have to jump on what the person, when they're done speaking, you don't have to jump on it. You can pause and consider. I do a similar exercise with just word association. I say cat, you say dog, and let's just word associate back and forth. And the first thing that people do is cat, dog, bark, and they're all like on top of it. I said, did I ever say you had to go fast? You don't have to go fast. In fact, slow down completely. And when I say slow down, that's when people are like, oh, I really heard what she just said. Yeah. And so I work on other focused listening so that the mantra of all of this that leaders should take away or could take away is instead of focusing on what should I say next, what could I say next, focus on what did she just say? What did she just say? That's it. Just switch those out. And now you're in other focused listening. You're getting the benefits of revealing new information. You're making the other person feel heard because you're responding off of what they just said, so they know you're listening. But it takes a mind shift to get out of this fearful place of, I got to be in control. I got to know what to say next. So I have some more exercises.
Okay, I want to get to some comments in audience. We got a lot of stuff, so we'll do the next exercise. But in this responding to that last exercise, Ben said, could see your listening skills in preventing the how do I respond before thoughts were shared. So yes. And then Rick Gardner had asked a question a little earlier that I think, great. All these are great questions. Curious about your thoughts on how adopting a learning mindset will enhance listening. I don't think anyone learned something while they were talking instead of listening. So yes. Thoughts on that, Bob?
Sure. Well, I do a lot of work with growth mindset, which we're equating that with learning mindset. Yeah. Which is, and this comes directly from applied improvisation. Improvisers are really good at recovering from mistakes. So we love to learn from our mistakes. And improvisers are not striving to be perfect. We get rid, don't even look at that skill set. What we work on is the skill of recovery. So make the mistake, learn from it, recover quickly. Make the mistake, learn from it, recover quickly. So I do a lot of exercises where I'm getting people to make mistakes. We're purposely doing something challenging where they will make a mistake and accept it. And then it's a miracle. They get better. They get better at the exercise as you go. So I absolutely feel that affects listening because that puts you present in the moment. You're not worried.
And so I can speak from, again, from it being on the receiving end of many of Bobbi's trainings, in that the leaders in our programs that Bobbi facilitates, one of the favorite exercises addresses this issue, and it literally becomes integrated into the culture of the companies that we go in, that making a mistake and recovering, as opposed to beating yourself up and going in that spiral of what did I do. But I think and this is how we can look at some of these skills from even a bigger standpoint. It's this issue of culture change. There needs to be, it needs to be okay. And I think that's what happens in a lot of our, in a lot of the work-life leader programming. We have a group that we work with over a year that we're reprogramming to say, mistakes, bring it on, so you can be your most creative and the most supportive and build trust. So,
right. And on that note, it's another, again, just sort of returning to the title, yeah. Are you listening? I would make another shift. Are you creating a culture in which people feel free to share so that you can listen to them, right? So creating psychological safety. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to share a half-baked idea. I will listen. I will take that in. And again, showing somebody that you're listening is as simple as, but it takes deceptively simple, as building off of what they just said. I did coach a client once in a one-on-one conversation, and we were working on listening. And the client was meeting with, a role play, meeting with a direct report, and the direct report comes in, and the leader says, I hope that this time is okay for you, and I'm glad that you made the time to meet with me. And the direct report says, well, actually, I just got a phone call, and my kid had a soccer accident, and I think he really hurt himself. So I just got that phone call. And the leader said, oh, okay, so the agenda. And I just, did you hear what they said? Are you going to do anything with that? It has to be acknowledged. Even if you have to get to your agenda, you have to acknowledge what the person just said. So it's really as simple as just repeating back to the person what they just said and saying, I hear that. And I really need to have this meeting, and you need to go tend to your child. So
yeah,
that just popped into my head.
Yeah, no, I think it's really important. I mean, that happens, that's good listening, but it's also humanity, right? It's being
that's
human.
empathy, and that's empathy skills. But I really honestly don't feel like the person heard.
Right.
I really think they were in their head going over what they were going to say and literally didn't hear these offers that were coming off of this other person. And that's a term in improv that we use, making an offer. So in improv, you go on stage, you say, "Hi, Mom." That's an offer on stage. But in a conversation, everybody's making offers all the time. Everything's an offer. If I stand there like this with my arms crossed, that's an offer, and you've got to listen to that offer. So if somebody has a distressed look on their face, pick up that offer and listen to it.
Yeah. So we have one more question that came in, and then I'm going to turn it back to you for another exercise.
Right.
So Ben asked, do you find acknowledging the unknown can be positive in response to listening and admitting we don't know the right thing to say?
Absolutely. Acknowledging the unknown is positive in that it demonstrates transparency and vulnerability, which is another skill that performers understand, that we have to be vulnerable. You know that Ben is a performer. I know Ben. So performers need to be vulnerable. And I typically say that leaders also need to be, show vulnerability or transparency and admit when they also make a mistake, which again creates psychological safety, which allows people to talk, which allows you to listen.
So I have a question for you. And again, I'm going to welcome any questions. I know we have people from all different backgrounds. We have HR leaders, we have executive coaches, we have actors, we have all professions here watching. So if you have any questions related to anything we're talking about, please put them, in the comment box, and Bobbi will get to them. Our topic is, are you listening? Applied Improv for Leadership Presence. But we can talk about just implied improv and just how it can be used. But I think from what you just said, that statement, it leads me to this question of where was I? So I'll be transparent. It just went out of my head. It will come back. That's my brain. I was doing my
Joel, I was just going to compliment you on, it's very difficult to be present in your position right now because you're reading all the comments and you're being very wonderfully inclusive with all the comments and you're trying to listen to me. So that's a tricky position to be in. So I completely understand how it left your head.
Oh, I know where I was.
There you go.
But I think the reason it left my head isn't because of that. It's because my brain is like going. And I forget every other word most times. But thank you. It was about vulnerability. And, that's kind of a buzzword right now in the HR and people world and, psychological safety. It's all good and great to say that, yes, leaders should be vulnerable. And what happens if, and it goes back to this culture. If you want to be vulnerable, but your boss, doesn't necessarily respond to that, or, your organization doesn't necessarily support that, what does the individual do? Or is there any path forward for an individual who wants to experiment with some of these, but they're not certain how it's going to be taken, or they're concerned maybe how it will be taken?
So you're talking about not somebody in a leadership position, somebody in a different position.
Yeah, maybe, I'm on a team and I have a concern with my boss, or I'm concerned about my, effectiveness, or I don't know how to do something, or I'm confused, but I've been trying to make myself look good.
Right. Well, I have to say that it does come from the top to create that place where somebody would feel comfortable coming forward. As far as being revealing, I would always err on the side of, yes, that is the path to take. So
then let's look from the organizational standpoint. If when companies call you to say, hey, we want you to come in and teach improv skills to our team of leaders or a team of leaders, what's often the result they're trying to get?
That's a great question. Well, if you're working with a team, the result is better collaboration, as opposed to being collaborators, right? Where you say, oh yeah, I love working with other people. When you really don't, you'd really rather do it yourself, and working with other people frustrates you. So the benefit would be this ability to support each other's ideas. And again, some of our exercises are support each other's ideas, even if you don't like the idea, and see what happens. So in this low stakes training room, right? We're in the training room. Experiment and play with what it's like to go with an idea that you think is absolutely going to fail, and just make the discovery. And that leads to more ability to collaborate with others because you're more open to each other.
Right.
So that's, but I'm going off on a tangent. You're saying, how do we get the team to be more vulnerable with the leader? I would say by asking questions of the leader first, and checking in on how the leader is doing, right? So forming a trusting relationship and listening to the leader. So it can be managing up. It doesn't have to be managing down. So it can be, hey, I'm hearing you. I'm reflecting back to you. I'm listening to you. And you build a trusting relationship with that leader. The only way that you can influence the leader or get the leader to listen to you, perhaps, is by you showing that you're hearing the leader.
Great. So do you have another exercise for us?
Oh, of course I do.
Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna have you and I do something again, Jewel, and then hopefully we have time. I have one quick thing that we can do with the audience. Actually.
Yes, we do. We've got some time.
So I'd love to do something with you. So a very foundational skill in the world of applied improv is a concept called yes and. And yes and is when you accept somebody's offer and you build on it. So I would like us to practice a little something real quick together, where we start off trying to invent a new product, and we're going to say yes, but as the first words out of our mouth. And then we'll do it again and we'll say yes and. So I'm going to ask the audience again. I typically have people inventing things like office chairs and pieces of furniture in their homes. But from the audience, what new product would you like us to invent?
So it's like a type of product? Like a category?
Like sneakers.
Okay.
Or, anything.
All right. Does anyone, if you're watching live, share a product you want us to invent?
If it doesn't come in, we'll just use a.
Yeah. It sometimes just takes a couple seconds for people to type to get to us.
There might be a lag.
There's a little delay from when people type in. So we'll give it another couple seconds to see if there's anything. And then if not,
it's okay.
Because I have a dog who's right outside my door. So how about if we don't hear something, how about like a dog collar or a dog?
Oh, yeah. Great. Okay. Let's invent a new dog collar. That's fantastic. So we're going to say, oh, I just saw something, but that's all right. Let's just do dog collar. Let's go for it. I have not thought ahead about this at all, and I don't know dog. So we're going to say, let's invent a new dog collar, and every time we speak back and forth, we're going to start our sentence with yes, but.
Okay.
Okay?
So
all right. So you can start, Jewel. So let's invent a new dog collar.
Okay, let's invent a new dog collar.
Yes, but it has to be really comfortable around their neck.
Yes, but it needs to be tight enough so the dog doesn't get loose.
Yes, but we don't want cruelty to animals. So at least, maybe the leash kind of can unlock as soon as something gets too tight.
Yes, but it needs to really easily connect to the leash so I can take it off with one hand.
Okay, great. So we're going to stop there. Now, let's do the same exercise, and let's do it with yes and.
Okay.
All right? So you can start if you'd like.
I'll start.
All right, great.
Let's invent a dog collar.
Yes. And let's make it look really fashionable.
Yes. And let's create matching outfits for the dog.
Yes. And let's add matching outfits for the dog owners to wear when the dog wears that outfit as well.
Yes. And let's get that new dog magazine involved, and let's do our PR through that.
Great. All right, good. So we'll stop there. Very nice. So Jewel, I will put this to you. What was the difference in the conversation in terms of your feelings about the conversation? Not the product, but the feelings when we yes butted versus yes anded.
Well, it's interesting. There's a feeling that's easy to answer. But there's something I just noticed that I've never noticed, because I've always done this in person with you and my leaders. When I was doing yes, but I was looking down when you said the thing to me. When you were saying yes, and I stayed looking at you. And
cool.
that was not by, cognitive.
New discovery. That's cool.
But, I felt more energized. I felt like we were on a team, as opposed to it felt more competitive when we were saying yes, but.
Yeah, I found it very difficult and choppy, and I felt like I wanted to one-up you. I wanted to say the thing that I wanted to say. Yeah, and when we do this exercise in the classroom, I often get people responding that they feel dismissed or patronized, or they get defensive, or it's all negative. And that's because yes, but is emotionally incongruent. You've got a yes, which is positive. You got a but, which is negative. And now it's sort of like no with a smile. Like, no, we're not going to do the dog collar like that. We're going to do it my way.
Right.
And that just makes people not trust you.
Right. And this actually goes back to, where is it? What Janelle said earlier.
Very quickly with a but. It's demotivating. Exactly.
Yeah.
So like you said, Julie, you're looking down. There's no reason you're going to look at me and want to collaborate with me. You are demotivated, and now you're just defending yourself, or you feel like, bye, I'm going home, right? That's what yes, but does to a lot of people. Not every personality style, but many personality styles feel that way. The thing about yes and we don't have time to do the whole series of yes and, so I want to make sure I say this to all of our listeners and viewers. The thing about yes and is not only does it make you feel more collaborative, and as Julie reported, you're sort of connected and making something happen. Eventually, what I would ask Julie to do in this exercise, or our partners to do, is not just pile on ideas, but build on the last idea. So that really makes the other person feel heard. So if it's, let's make a dog collar that's comfortable, yes, and let's make it pink, yes, and let's make it with matching outfits, yes, and let's make the leash come disattach very easily, yes, and let's make little booties that go with it. That's just piling on ideas. What we're really looking for with the perfect yes and conversation is that you say something and then I connect to what you just said. So if you say, let's make it with matching outfits, or let's put little outfits with it, I'm going to connect with that idea. And that makes the other person feel like you're really listening, as opposed to just like, I got a bunch of ideas and I'm throwing them on the pile, and you got a bunch of ideas. And at the end, we just have a pile of ideas. We don't actually have something that we built together.
Right.
So, and then as you apply that in the workplace, the idea of yes anding somebody is, I'm taking what you offered and I'm going to say something about that. I'm either going to use your words or make some reference to what you just said, and I'm going to build an offer on top of that one.
Got it. Okay.
And the other key is that we have to treat each other, another part of the exercise is that you treat each other like you're a genius. I think you're a genius and you think I'm a genius. Even if we don't like the offer, we keep a mindset that the other person brings value to the conversation. I was just working with a bunch of attorneys, and that was very interesting because, they're very much into, attorneys want to argue and find the logic. And the idea that the other person brings value to the table and that they can yes and that idea, that was challenging for them.
Right. And so that's, to me, that's aligned with that assume good intentions, assume the person coming into, which is great for all relationships, professional and personal.
Yeah,
and that's how you build trust and can engage without, while lessening kind of conflict. So we only have a couple minutes left. Is this a quick, you said you had one more exercise?
Yeah, very quick, everybody. All right. So when I say up, I want you to put your hand up. And when I say down, I want you to put your hand down. I can't see you doing it, but I trust you're doing it.
Okay.
All right. Julie will do it. Okay. So up, down, up, up, down, up, down, down, up. Great. All right. Lovely. Now, when I say up, it means down. And when I say down, it means up.
Okay.
When I say up, it means down. And when I say down, it means up. Ready? Down. Up. Down. Up. 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 Down. 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 Up. Down. Up. Down. Great.
I'm messed up.
Great. Very good. Okay.
Move.
That's all right. We made mistakes. So I'm going to check in with you, Julie, and I'll check in with people on the chat. What's happening with your listening that second round?
Let's ask the audience first. So while they're typing, I will respond. So if you did that, if you're here, and we're going to wrap up in the next 5 minutes, so hopefully you stayed to the end. If you're here and did that, what was it like? Share your thoughts. Anything else you want to get from people, Bob?
Oh, no. What was your experience, especially with the listening?
Yeah. Well, so, the second one, I had to slow down. I had to think, because I had to process in between and know, okay, I have to do the opposite. It was like, I'm learning a new language right now. I'm learning, it's not new, but I'm taking French lessons, kind of at the advanced beginner level, maybe.
Okay.
And, I'm still at that very conscious, competent level where I have to, what's that verb and how do I conjugate it? It felt like that. Like I had to, the second part, when I was doing the opposite, I had to be really mindful and I had to slow down.
Yeah. And so what does that feel in terms of when you have new information, like learning a language, you have new information, what does that do to your listening? Like when you're learning French, are you super present? Do you feel?
Oh my God. It's like, honestly, it's now, it's my favorite part of the week. I have a weekly lesson. And I even told my instructor, I said, when I'm talking to you, I'm leaning into I'm like this, like eating, like I want, ooh, give me some more food. So yeah, I had to be really, engaged and listen. And so like Janelle just responded, fun, and definitely had to listen the second time around. And so, yeah, I needed to process differently.
Right. So when we do things by rote, like, oh, here's a direct report, and this direct report is saying to me the things that all my direct reports say to me. I always hear them come to me with this stuff. So how much are you listening when you already know the language, right? Well, how much are you listening? Not much. What happens if I change the language on you? Up means down, down means up. Now suddenly I have to pay attention and I'm making mistakes. Oh my God, I'm making mistakes. There's that fear of making a mistake. But after a while, you got good at it, right, Jewel? Everybody in the audience, you got better. Like, oh, down means up means, oh, okay, I got it. But
you know what? I
listen first.
But I think what happened to me at a certain point, though, when I thought I got it, I think then I let go and then I messed up. Like, I think.
Sure. And you let your guard down a little bit. You let yourself not be as present. So this is really tuning into so many things. Organizational change. I've done the same thing with the same system over and over and over again. And now you're changing it on me. So how am I going to deal with that change? You have to really be present. You have to really be in the moment and allow yourself to make some mistakes and fumble with it. But the more you're in the moment and let go of control, like we used to do it this way, down used to be down and up used to be up, right? If you let go of it and say, no, up is down now, and you'll train yourself. So that's what a lot of my exercises have to do with, and improv exercises in general. They're just retraining behavior.
Yeah. That's awesome, Bob. So those were fun. So we're actually close to the end of our time together. People who are still here, we could keep talking about this for another hour or two. We got some great comments. Thank you, everyone who's been here.
Thank
Bob,
you.
What are the big rocks? So I'm going to ask you to use your most concise,
Sure.
dialogue. What are the 1 or 2 or 3 takeaways? As we think about, this topic, are you listening, and using the applied improv skills that you shared today, tell us.
I would say leaders, if you can develop that skill set of listening, you're developing a crucial skill for building trusting relationships. And once you build trust, then you can lead, then you can influence. That would be one. How to do that? You need to release control, release fear of making a mistake, and be in the moment and allow yourself to recover when you do make a mistake and get better and better and better at not controlling the situation. And be other focused. What did she just say, instead of what should I say next to be right or be smart or help this person?
Awesome. And I know, again, Bobbi could continue to share wisdom, and hopefully we'll have you back soon on another episode of Work Life Leader Live, where
I think I've said it all. I think I've talked a lot.
Other topics.
Making space for me to talk a lot.
Yes. So, it's awesome. And again, we've got lots of great comments. So, Bobbi, how can people get in touch with you if they want to talk to you more?
They can go to my website, which is bobbiblock.com, BOBBIBLOCK.com. Or they could email me at bobbysfblock@gmail.com. But bobbyblock.com is probably the best.
Yeah, and I'll put in the comments Bobbi's website so anyone can follow up with her. Again, thank you so much, Bob.
That was fun. And thanks to everybody who participated.
Yeah, it was awesome. Really great. And we, as we wrap up Work Life Leader Live now, I do want to remind you, we have some really great shows coming up. We have the Work Life Leader Live book group. We're going to be talking about the book First 90 Days by Michael Watkins, I think. Don't quote me. And then we're going to also be talking about the talent marketplace, what it is. And we have some other really great topics coming up. And also would love if you have a topic related to work, life, and leadership, or the intersection of all or some of those, and you think you should be a guest and I should be talking to you, reach out, let me know. I talk with smart people about interesting things, and if you fit the bill, I'd love to talk to you. Thanks again, Bob. Thanks, everyone. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.